Hey, I'm Ron Drotos from KeyboardImprov.com, and welcome to day 28 of our 31-day Rock Piano for Beginners Workout Challenge. And yeah, 28. So after this, we have 29, 30, 31, only 3 more after this. So you're developing fluency, right? And from the comments I've been getting, and occasional email too, some of you are making more progress in this month than you have in years. And that is delightful. That is wonderful. That's amazing. As a friend of mine used to say, that's huge, right? That's it. And now, whatever you do after this, you'll reap the benefits, because now you know how to work, and also it'll prepare you to learn the other stuff much better. Yesterday, ran out of time from what I had planned, which has been happening lately. So we're going to start with those hand independence exercises again. So we're going to do it in the key of D today, because that's the thing. We already know the D blues scale, right? D, F, G, A flat, the blue, so-called blue note, A, and C, and then you can repeat the D, whatever. And we're just going to start by very relaxed. Maybe we're talking that. You just play a D. You could do the low one if you want. Just very relaxed, the steady pulse that's behind much music, right? Most music, really. And you just get into this flow. Nowhere to go. Most musicians do not have a great sense of rhythm. Even some professionals, a lot of professionals. A lot of jazz pianists speed up. A lot of rock pianists speed up too. So it's really important to just come back to this, relaxed. All right, take a break. Relax your arm. All right, so now, while I do that, just play whole notes in your right hand. Okay? So you'll count to 4 for each note, and you can play any note in the blues scale. The most important thing is you just go right to the next note or repeat or something without hesitation. The notes themselves aren't as important as long as they're in the blues scale. 1, 2, right hand only. Now another note. 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Keep going. So now let's try doing that with the left hand, just the single note, D, and then you're going to start with whole notes. So it's 4 notes to the left, to every one in the right. 1, 2, any note in the scale. Use your ear, see if it wants to go up or down. I wouldn't skip too much unless you really hear it in your head. Like there, I heard that one. 3. I'm going to play the same note again. And again, 3 times, same note. Just keep the right hand going. Give your left hand a rest. If you're not used to doing this, it could be too much. Now bring your left hand back in. Okay. So we've been doing this for a couple of days, this exercise. So you're probably getting pretty good at it. If you're not, don't worry. Some things took me a real long time to get, and still do. And I see other people getting them faster. I don't care anymore. I never really did. I mean, a little bit, right? You want to become easy. But I realized that the things that took me a long time to learn, I eventually learned them better and deeper than a lot of people who got them very quickly, because they didn't keep working on them and they just knew them on the surface. So that gave me a lot of heart. And I've heard that some really great musicians, like the jazz pianist Bill Evans was like that. He said he had to work really hard. He had to work really hard to learn what he did. So every stage, when you learn something like this, there's like a little fork in the road you can take. So we know how to play whole notes in the right hand using the blues scale. Oh, wait. Yeah, D. We're on D, right? Yeah. So, and with this 4 notes in the left, while we play whole notes in the right. Now, we can go in several directions to make it slightly more complex. We can either start playing half notes or quarter notes in the right hand, and the same left hand, or we can keep the right hand simple and change the left hand, make that a little more complex. And that's the way I want to go today. We're still going to do quarter notes, but we're going to go through the 12-bar blues chord progression. So let's try it again. I'll talk you through it just with the left hand. Here's D, ready, go. First measure. Second. Third. And fourth. Now we're going to go to the G chord, or a note, for 2 measures. 2. Back to D. 1. 2. Now we're going to go to the A chord, or A note, for 1 measure. G. And then D again for 2 measures. Yeah, shake out your arm, shake out your arm. So see what we just did? We went through the 12-bar blues, right, using this. And this is going to lead up to those kind of things. All that. This is the very beginning, and it's developing a really good foundation with hand independence and listening. That's going to make it a lot easier when you get there. So let's do that again. Now we're going to add the, matter of fact, let's not even add anything yet. Let's just stay here. So you're going to do that, and let's pretend you're playing in the band, and that's the bass line. That could be it, right? And I'm going to play the chords and improvise while I'm doing that with my left hand. So you're just doing the left hand, developing a good muscle memory for this. 1, 2, 3, and... A, hey, Ron, I can do that, and it sounds pretty good. Why didn't you start with lesson 1 in this whole workout challenge with that? Well, I intentionally didn't, because if we had started here with this sort of step-by-step thing, you'd never want to leave it. Well, like, probably not. That's the tendency, is to say, well, I can do that. I'm going to stay in that little box, and then I'm going to add one more thing. But then you never develop your instincts to, or it takes much longer to it. It's better to plunge in, even if you're feeling a little lost, right? As long as someone's here to support you and everything like that, right? You're in a safe place with this. You're not gonna lose the gig if you don't do well, right? So basically, you develop your instincts, you try things, you see what's easy for you, you see what isn't easy for you, and then at a certain point, like now, we're really ready for this. All right, so let's try improvising whole notes over that. But we're just going to play a D. We're not going to try to think about both hands moving. So this is going to be D in whole notes while we go through the blues in quarter notes in the left hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. A in the left hand. And do that again. Here we go. A D. Again. A G in the left hand. What's next? G. Now back to D. Stay relaxed, right? All right, now we're just gonna have a little free-form jam here. So you're in the band and you played a blues in E yesterday, and they say, hey, let's play the blues in D today. So it's D major, G major, and A major. There we go. So I'm just gonna have fun. Let's all just jam together, whatever you want to do. Play blues scale, whatever you want. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. notes to straight. Instead of rock and roll was developed from what was called R&B at the time. Not the same as contemporary R&B. You might call it old school R&B. Louis Jordan, people like that. And it was basically swing eighth note music from the big band era of the 30s and 40s. And but with a little more of a bluesy, sort of raucous feel, and not as jazzy in terms of the harmonies all the time. Although there's definitely always been a cross breeding between R&B and jazz. You get someone like Stevie Wonder, or even James Brown at times using jazz chords, and it might have been more R&B or soul music, right? But basically. So you might get these swing era tunes that are like, and they could have been R&B depending on the exact sort of the feel of the music. It's a little hard to quantify in terms of specifics, but you know when you hear it. There's more jazzy, little more R&B, and that developed into early rock and roll. So you might get tunes by Elvis Presley or Chuck Berry from the 50s that are, yes, rock and roll. And they use swing eighth notes, The Rolling Stones will use swing eighth notes sometimes. But then it's kind of fun. You see this going back and forth. So one of the early Rolling Stones albums was mostly covered. Their first two albums were mostly cover tunes. And they did Route 66, If you ever plan to go west. But they did it, I forget the original version, but they ended up doing that again in concert decades later in the 80s or 90s. I saw some concert footage on YouTube, and they were doing it straight eighth notes. If you ever plan to motor west. So they took an old sort of swing tune blues, and they made it straight eighth, and it totally worked. So it goes back and forth, and rock covers both. I love Keith Richards' quote. He's talking about a lot of bands, that are considered rock, and he's like, well, they can rock, but they can't roll. And I think he meant that swing factor. And sure enough, all the Rolling Stones, Charlie Watts on drums, they say the music has to swing. Even when it's straight eighths, they're feeling it. They're talking about a certain groove and a certain improvisational quality to the groove, not just sort of locked in their opinion, at least. All right, let's keep going with this. This is great. And let's trade fours like we were doing last time on the blues. So this time you start. 1, 2, we're in D. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now my turn. Now yours. My turn. Let's do that together. Big glissando and one more time. One of the great things about the piano, doing glissando like that. So yeah, this is jamming, and we're using what we did, right? Like, I have to say, 1% of me, there's in the back this thing, oh, we gotta learn more, but no, that's not what this is about, right? We're developing hand independence, we're doing that a lot, but we're using what we know and getting better at that, getting more comfortable using the D blues scale, the E blues scale. We'll get back into the A blues scale. This is rock. This is it. This is improvisation. So yeah, good luck. Have so much fun with what you're doing, and leave comments. It's great to hear how you guys are doing. There's some links for you to click if you're interested. Some other videos, some lessons. down in the description here. Thanks for being here. I'll see you tomorrow.